Um, so since we have a really small crowd, as I'm going through this information, if you guys have any questions, just shout them out, because I don't want to forget about them or miss what we're talking about. So, I threw this slide in here. Most of you guys that are sales reps, I'm sure you know this stuff, but I wasn't sure what the crowd would be, so I didn't know if everybody would understand the API classifications. Our current, as we stand today, current classifications, SN on the gasoline engine side, CJ4 on the diesel engine side. CJ4 was introduced in 2006, and that was primarily introduced because of the changes to the emission side of diesel engines, the exhaust gas recirculation, diesel particulate filters. CJ4 had nothing to do with fuel economy at that time, so today we are moving towards two new API engine oil categories. And the reason for that is because EPA and the National Highway Transportation Safety Authority have mandated higher fuel economy in an effort to further reduce greenhouse gas. Most of the changes that we've seen in engine oil over the last 20-25 years have really been driven by emissions. So this is no different. I guess they feel like they've pretty much accomplished as much as they can on the exhaust side with the after treatment and EGR, diesel exhaust fluid, things like that. So another way to reduce greenhouse gas is to increase fuel economy, burn less diesel fuel. So whenever these mandates come down, and oh, by the way, this is phase one of these mandates. EPA just released, I believe it was in August, phase two, which will further push the fuel economy standard. I read something where it said we're talking about something like a 24% increase in fuel economy and on-highway diesels, which includes, Class 8 trucks, vocational vehicles, diesel pickups. No surprise, not that this really matters, but the phase two requirements are 1,600 and some pages long. Moving forward in an effort to hit their fuel economy targets, they're even mandating changes to trailers. You're going to see more aerodynamics. I read where they're looking at the same type of technology in truck trailers that they have in hybrid vehicles. So when you're braking, you're going to capture that energy, store it in a battery, and when that truck's going uphill, those electric motors will kick in and help propel the truck up the hill. So those are the kind of things that are coming down the road. So when this happens, there's actually a team which is made up of engine manufacturers, American Chemical Council, and API that set the standard, set the test parameters. We as oil companies just don't go out there and decide, well, we're going to implement this. That's done, and you have people from all aspects of the industry involved in those decisions. There are going to be engine design changes. Typically what they're talking about there is downsizing engines from 15 liter to 13 liter, down speeding from 1,600 to 1,200 RPMs, all in an effort to increase fuel economy. We've seen it, especially on the gasoline side, getting more power out of smaller engines. They had to also address customers' needs for efficiency, durability, reliability. Obviously, customers that are using the oil want improvements, want a better product. You don't want to go backwards, certainly. And the licensing on these categories takes effect December 1st. So we're getting close. Our companies today can claim that they meet the new performance categories, but they are not allowed to put it on their label or advertising or anything until December 1st. So in December 1st, you're going to start seeing some of the new nomenclature and probably seeing a lot more ads about the new products. So what's the new categories going to look like? I've been saying that for the first time we have a split category, but that's not necessarily true because back in the early 90s we had two separate categories when Detroit still had two-stroke diesels. We had CF2 and probably CH4 at that time. But this is a little bit different because you're going to see basically two oils with the same viscosity on the label, that one is going to meet CK4 and the other one is going to meet FA4, and they're going to be two different products. So I'm going to talk about those individually, explain what the difference is. So basically when they introduce new API categories, in the past, they've always been backwards compatible. Backwards compatible means if you have a truck today that calls for CI4+, CJ4 that we have on the market today, and CK4 oil is fine to use in that application. If it meets the new specification, it will meet the old specification. So CK4, right now, today we're at CJ, we're moving to CK4 on the diesel side. Totally backwards compatible. You don't need to worry about putting it in anything old. Going to be performance improvements. Three areas that they really addressed: oxidation resistance. Oxidation, as we all know, oxygen degrades things. That's why we keep our food in Ziploc bags and keep it in a refrigerator. So oxidation resistance, shear stability. Shearing, as it refers to motor oil, is the ability for it to stay in viscosity grade. The engines are going to have tighter clearances, so they wanted to improve shear stability and aeration control. Air is a very poor lubricant, so you don't want entrained air in the oil. You want to get that released out of the oil. So CK4 is definitely a better oil than you're buying today in a CJ4 product, okay? And do not be concerned over using it in older equipment. That's pretty straightforward. FA4, and I need to clarify that the new requirements apply to on-highway vehicles only at this point. The EPA mandates. Off-road segment always lags behind the on-highway segment. I don't know if that will change 10 years from now, but FA4 is really only going to apply to on-highway vehicles at this point in time. FA4 products, that says limited backwards compatibility. I'm hearing more like no backwards compatibility. It's a totally different product. Although the oils, the two oils basically are the same with regards to the testing that they go through, the oxidation improvements, shear stability, and aeration control. The big difference between these two products is this number right here, HTHS, which stands for high temperature, high shear. That is a different way of measuring viscosity. As we all know, when we talk about oils, we talk about viscosity grades. Well, the viscosity grade of an oil is measured at a specified temperature. If you change the temperature, you're going to change the viscosity. We all know it thickens when it gets cold, it thins when it gets hot, right? Yeah. So the HTHS viscosity is actually a measurement of the viscosity of that fluid in motion. I I wrote this down because I thought this was a good way of describing it, but HTHS viscosity is a fluid property that relates to the viscosity requirements of a running engine. And we're going to talk about that more as I go through the presentation, but that's really the big difference between these two, between CK4 and FA4 products. The new FA4 type products have a lower HTHS viscosity, which means you're going to have a thinner oil film in your engine, which causes less drag on the engine, so you're going to get better fuel economy. Okay? Does that make sense? So we've all seen what we call the API donuts on quarts of oil. When your product is licensed, you're allowed to put the API donut on your labels. API CK4 is going to look very similar to what we've seen, or pretty much the same as CJ4 or the previous API donuts. The CK4 products, there are some companies today that make a CJ4 5W30, but not very many companies. Most of them are 1030, 540 on the full synthetic. Some companies make a 1040 in the synthetic blend, but by far and away the most common is 15W40. Those viscosity grades are going to carry forward to CK4. You're going to see CK4 15W40 is still going to be out there on the market. But when we move, when you look at the FA4 oils, the FA4 oils are going to be lighter viscosity, 530, 1030.